right, this is Ross Payne here with Role Playing
Yes,
Public
okay,
Radio.
Ross. I think we can forego the usual shit. Just let's avoid the announcer voice this time. I'll do it for you. Hi, that was Ross, and he's with Role Playing Public Radio, and he thanks you for joining us today.
Well, Tom, you forgot the episode number, which is 44, and the episode title, which is Don't Hate the Game.
But you did it in the non-announcer voice. My job is done.
Okay, well, I'm so happy about that, I guess.
I don't really think you are, Ross.
No, but we do have, and you're making us look bad in front of our guest, Tom.
I don't think
we do have a guest today.
We do?
We have Mike from Bear Swarm. It's part of the Bear Swarm podcast tour 2010. All right. So
fantastic. I've never been privy to the announcer voice in first person before.
Oh yeah, and what's it like?
It's everything I hoped it would be.
Great. Just for all you listeners out there. So anyways, we got a lot to talk about this episode, or not. We'll make stuff up.
So for the record, we'll be doing a lot of microphone turning here.
Yes, because I have 2 microphones, 3 people.
Because Ross is a cheap-ass bastard.
Which is better than 2 girls in 1 cup.
Yes. He
internet
went there.
humor. So, of course, we were all at Fear the Con recently.
Indeed.
In St. Louis on March 12th through the 14th. It was a very entertaining time. We were invited up there, and Bear Swarm guys showed up as well with some of the other podcasters. And for me, it was fun just getting to run games for several different groups.
And I like a good road trip.
Yeah, just getting out of the Springfield for a while to escape its dreary.
Though I will say, we left Springfield to escape the dreariness and drove right into dreariness of St. Louis. It was cloudy and raining every second we were there.
Yeah, that's true. I think it was probably because of you, Tom, or possibly me.
Suck my ass, Ross. Seriously.
Anyways, as you see on the actual play, I ran Delta Green, Wild Talents, and Monsters and Other Childish Things. We'll have the actual plays up shortly. We also got to try out Mouse Guard, which is a very fun system. We'll get into more of that a little later on. And just getting to meet some of the podcasters up there, I think, overall I had a good time. There's, a little weirdness in some places. I don't want to say weird. But, getting to run new games, try new games, meet new people, all that fun stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, I did that. I didn't run anything because that would have actually required me to sign up to do something.
Yeah, and work is...
I hate work.
Yeah, you hate planning and, thinking of things in advance. You just want to show up and do whatever.
Yeah, I played some games, a couple of which are going to be my shout-outs.
Yeah.
I also did the World of Warcraft board game, which kind of a fun game. It's not exactly like playing World of Warcraft. And just seeing the amount of prep work that goes on to setting that game up, I don't know if I'd have the patience. If I hate work, setting up that game seems like work.
Yeah. For me, though, the only thing that kind of annoyed me is that, there were like a bunch of different podcasters there. Not just us, Fear the Boot, Bear Swarm. There's Kicked in the Dice Bags, Ed Healy from Atomic Array. And before this, we had been emailing each other and talking about, we should get together, we should record something, we should do something together, and I was looking forward to that. And when it came to the time to actually do that, everyone was too tired, they didn't want to do it. And I was...
Did we mention there was free beer?
Yeah, that's true. That might have had something to do with it. But I was kind of wanting to get involved with some of the other podcasts, or try and do a podcasting event or whatever. And it was annoying that we didn't actually get to do that. So.
Like a podcast all-stars kind of thing?
Yeah, something like that, We go out, we fight crime, have a Saturday morning cartoon, get a talking dog.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah,
we should hook that up sometime.
We should. That's what I'm saying. Gen Con.
You would be announcer.
And apparently, and speaking of Gen Con, I learned that Gen Con apparently is a horrible, horrible con that no one should go to.
And you'll find this out if you listen to the Fear the Boot live episode that was recorded at Fear the Con. Apparently, Gen Con, terrible.
It is.
Don't bother.
We learned how great Fear the Con was.
There's nothing to do at Gen Con.
There's nothing to do at Gen Con. I'm a bit, I'm just Fear the Boot has a great community. It seems like they have a lot of people who are really enthusiastic about it. But man, they love Fear the Con, and they do not like anything. Well, that's Tom's words, not mine. I don't want to, start a podcast war or anything, but
that's bordering on. It's like fandom.
That's, well, you need to.
They can hear me.
Yeah.
They can hear me.
Maybe. I don't know.
My voice carries like a retarded ogre, right?
So what do you think, Mike? You were watching the episode, or the live recording and everything. So.
without I'm not trying to be, a dick, but I don't think that I should preface this by saying that I left about 15 or 20 minutes into the recording.
Right.
And the reason that I left was because the first 15 or 20 minutes, minus the 2 or 3 minutes that I think it was, pretty sure the only person that had anything interesting to say before I left was you.
Yeah.
Because before that, it was nothing but people coming up to the mic and saying Fear the Boot is great, which is fine. I mean, you're allowed to like Fear the Boot, but that doesn't go anywhere. You're not promoting any kind of conversation. And the idea, as far as I understood it, was supposed to be more of a question and answer, almost a recorded panel sort of thing. But there were no real questions that people were asking. It was pretty much, Fear the Con's great, and Fear the Boot's awesome.
And I'm so-and-so on the forums.
Yeah.
And I'm getting my PhD, or I'm doing this, or I'm... it's the first time I've ever left the state.
Thank you for the fruit.
Yeah. Fear the fruit, that was a big thing.
Yeah.
I tried to get a conversation started about running con games. I mean, the Fear of the Boot guys, they've probably run a lot of con games themselves, and I've run more than a few. So, finding out and it's not... It can be very rewarding to run a con game. Have you run any con games or anything?
I haven't. I'm trying to think. I've been through a lot of little cons here and there.
Right.
I don't think I've ever ran a con game. I mean, I've ran con one shots and stuff like that before.
Well, same difference. I mean, it's not.
I've ran plenty of one shots.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever ran a con game.
Yeah, and there's a little learning curve. There are a couple of tricks you can do to minimize that. Make sure you know the system backwards and forwards. Make sure you can teach it's a system that you can teach people in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because no one will show up with paper or dice. They just expect to be entertained for 3 hours or 4 hours. And even systems like Call of Cthulhu, very simple systems, but stuff like that. And I tried to hit them a softball so they could get started on it, and they just went on to. I mentioned hanging out with gaming celebrities, sort of sarcastically, and they latched onto that and sort of went off on another tangent. So I don't know, Tom. What did you think, since you were there too? Although you didn't ask a question, again, being lazy like you are.
No, I felt you were properly representing role-playing public radio.
Yes, I did do the announcer voice for them.
You did, and some might call that pandering, but
I call it. Hey, the boot listeners, try listening to.
I call it self-promotion.
Yes, exactly.
So I will say that for the most part, the con was really fun. Luckily, I mean, it was certainly a different kind of con.
Yeah, no,
a lot smaller and a bit more manageable, if that's your thing.
Yeah.
And the games I was in were good. All the players were good. Mm-hmm. So really. It's actually been the experience I had with Gen Con. Is good people, good games. It's just a size difference, the number of things to do.
Yeah. I kind of wish they had at least some of the con games and not in that main hall, so the recordings would have been a little quieter. I'm sure I probably could have just asked to move to somewhere else. But I will say the bringing the food to you while you're gaming.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That was nice.
I mean, the food itself was pretty
generic.
Carnival type food. I mean, it's
but dude,
burgers and hot
they
dogs.
gave you a sheet. You marked what you wanted. Gave them your money. They took it and brought it back to you.
Yeah. So, it's just I don't know. I hope if they invite us or whatever, we go back. If we do it again next year, that we actually plan some sort of actual podcasting event. And they actually. For the actual recording, that they actually do something that's more.
I will say, I
related.
will forever take away playing the World of Warcraft board game with a guy drinking a pitcher of beer like it was a mug.
Yeah,
that was.
There's a couple of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. There was they had free beer there. So if you're in the St. Louis area, I mean, it's probably a cheap way to get drunk even if you've never gamed before. I mean,
when I was demoing Iron Tyrants, which is a kind of a minis skirmish mech game that Luke from the podcast is actually writing. One of the guys that sat down to demo it was doing the same thing, which is funny because he sat down with 2 pitchers.
Wow.
And he worked his way completely through one and halfway through the other before his friend, who was also demoing and was not drunk, was like, maybe you should just go wait in the car. He was getting belligerent a little bit. He got crit in the game, basically, and one of his mechs got one-shotted, and he looked at the guy and told him that he could fit in a dumpster. And everyone else at the table was like, what is that? What? We're confused. And that's when his friend was like, maybe you should just go wait in the car.
That's quality. Yeah, that's
That's
Wow.
like one step. That's like one step from. Like, do you have any idea how easy it is to slit the carotid artery?
Yeah, I do remember in the Delta Green game there was one of the players who was drinking. You know, it's like, oh, you know, it was a Vietnam game. They're waiting the C-130 plane to jump out. Very tense moment. It's like, well, there's nothing to do. We're just waiting to jump out of the plane, right? And parachute out. It's like, yeah. Well, I start masturbating. It's like, no, you don't.
The hooked horror attacks you immediately.
Yeah, the giant flying monster crashes in the side of the plane. Make a luck check. Oh, you failed. Well, guess who's going out the plane? So, which actually did happen, I think, more or less. Well, you can listen to it. One player did die. I do remember that in that character. One player character died during that little intro scenario. So, you know, it was worth going to. I think it was fun, and you know, if you read Rob Justice's note on Facebook,
and
find out his after effects. I'm not going to spoil it. That's for those of you who are his Facebook friends.
And by the way, we ate at a motherfucking White Castle too.
Yeah, the White Castle, that which is not in Springfield. It was, I don't know. Are you?
I'm very sorry.
But there was a movie about it. That means it must have been good, right?
And my friend David, who's from St. Louis, is pissed off. I called him and left a message. We were eating there. He called me back saying, "You're a motherfucker."
Oh, it takes all kinds.
It does.
So yeah, we'll talk more about some of the games that we played out there in our shout-outs. But I guess we can start going into the main topic, which is, of course, you know, don't hate the game. Now, what does this mean? Well, if you've been on the internet and the internets and you've...
and from what we heard, that's probably a fair number of you.
Well, I would assume all of you, since our show is only on the internet. If you've been going to RPG podcast or websites, message boards, that sort of thing, I'm sure you've seen at one point or another flame wars or edition wars about some game. Right now, the hot topic is obviously... 4th edition versus Pathfinder versus 3rd Ed, and there are a lot of, you know, people are hating on both systems, you know, and
there are some rabid fans on both sides.
Yeah, no, and you know, we could talk about it, and it's just, for me, I don't know, the whole point of this is that it is like, why are you wasting your time arguing about this shit?
You're not going to convince anyone.
Yeah. So I don't know, like when you see these, I mean, like, are there any sort of like a major, like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, people who compare, you know, invoking, oh, you must be a Nazi if you like this version of the game, or, you know, this company is awful or whatever. I mean, when you see these flame wars, what do you see? I mean, what do you think? What are you thinking usually?
I mean, personally, I pretty much skip over them.
Oh yeah.
If there's any kind of wall,
wise decision. Wise.
If there's any kind of wall of text, this is why 4th edition or Pathfinder or 3.5 or whatever sucks. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no substance to their argument 90% of the time. It's just pretty much their argument boils down to, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. You're perfectly allowed not to like something.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't need to read why you don't like it, especially if you're not offering me any real concrete reason aside from it's my taste.
And also, how many times can I say fag?
Well, or to use very, I mean, for me, what really just bugs me is, why do they do this? And this is something I have my own theory on that, but I'd like to hear.
He's writing a thesis.
Yeah, that's yes, Tom. Why do people do this? Like, why are they so motivated to write, walls of text about, like, why Pathfinder is killing their babies and, you know, shooting their dogs?
Well, about a month ago, me and Rob went up to down to a con in Arkansas called DrakeCon. We recorded an episode down there with John Wick, who's a game designer.
Oh, yeah.
And with one of his friends that actually happened to live in the area. And one of the things that John had brought up was he was telling a story about how he had told another game designer, I don't remember exactly who he was talking to at the time, that he didn't like D&D. And he was telling him all the reasons why he didn't like D&D. And the other guy stopped him and he said, John, I really don't want to talk about this anymore because it hurts my feelings when you talk about why you don't like the games that I like, because you make me feel like you're calling me stupid.
Right.
And one of the things that we kind of talked about was that gaming is such a personal experience. Whenever, like, your D&D and the experiences that you've had playing D&D are probably nothing like what I've had playing D&D. They're not the same because it's not like playing a video game. It's all about what you bring to the table, what your GM has you doing. It's a very social dependent on who you're playing with kind of experience. And so when people start talking about the game, and even if they're just talking about the mechanical system behind the game, a lot of people take that personally because they have fond memories of this. This is what they love. They had so much fun doing this, and then when you're sitting there telling them that it sucks for this and this and this reason, even if they're perfectly good reasons, right. And even if you're not trying to be a jerk about it, it can feel like that. It can feel like this kind of personal attack on your taste. Because it is such this personal thing. It's all about what kind of mood you're in when you're playing it and what kind of game it is. And it's so variable from one individual to another, let alone one group to another.
Yeah. That's that's very insightful. I'd like to hear, what did John Wick have to say about that?
He basically said that he tries not to bash on game systems anymore because of that. Because really? that conversation kind of showed him the other side of the coin. Like, what if someone came up to John Wick and started telling him why they didn't like House of the Blooded or the L5R editions that he wrote or whatever. And, it's not like you can really argue those points.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of a, well, okay. I mean, that hurts my feelings a little bit, but okay. So basically, he's basically just said, he tries not to.
Yeah, because I remember I recently found his original rant against Third Ed, and it's a very long thing. It's like 6,000 words, and he goes in very long. Oh, I've been from the wasteland. I mean, I've seen how gaming is doomed, or it's very, not like, I wouldn't say, a bit overwrought. I mean, you know John Wick's writing very well, and. Yeah, slightly. So he gets very very passionate about why Third Ed is a bad edition and why it's kind of mediocre and they steal things from other games and it's nothing new or innovative and blah 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 blah. And
well, it's rather hard to leave your ego at the door.
Yeah, especially when you're John Wick and you have L5R and House of Blood and all this other stuff on it. Well,
for anything, most people take things personally.
Yeah.
Even if they try not to.
Yeah, that's true. You motherless goat.
Yeah. It's like, yes, one with daddy issues.
Oh, see, and we can Roman cow. Anyway, so I think that's very dead on, and I think the first step in stopping these edition wars, informing people that this is why they happen. I think that is the central reason why these things happen, and so if you're one of these flame wars, it's recognize that you're doing this and step back.
And I've seen some that they start out very very much like constructive criticism.
Yeah.
It does not stay there long.
No,
I have never seen it. Whereas I have never seen someone saying why I don't like this system, and all of them will start fairly civil.
Yeah.
But then other people will start commenting.
Yeah. And
from there, I've at least maybe a page or two of comments goes from, well, this is why I don't like it, to, you're a fag!
Yeah. Or you're a Nazi.
Or you're a Nazi. Nazi or fag. One of those two.
Or Nazi, fag, communist,
whore,
Jew, gay, anarchist, PETA, liberal, socialist, anarchist, fascist.
Ross turned the flame war into a dirty thing.
I know. Yeah, and that's true. I mean, the thing is also, I've never heard of anyone having legitimately changing their mind from a flame war on the internet.
No, it's like two fundamentalists arguing.
Yeah,
one will never convince the other.
Yeah,
ever.
Yeah.
No matter. It's like two conspiracy theorists arguing. Yeah. No matter what evidence you put before them, no matter what ironclad, hardcore facts, they shall never be convinced.
Yeah,
ever.
That's true. And what's interesting is a lot of these arguments are, you can see them recycled over and over again. And the weird thing is a lot of these can be proven or disproven, objectively, like game balance. I mean, there isn't, sort of
some things can be measured.
Yeah, in a sense, you can mathematically prove that one game is balanced, like chess is balanced. I mean, there's a whole branch of mathematics about game theory, but so why don't we take some of these arguments and just kind of break them down? The one argument that always bugs me, it's like a video game. Third edition was like Diablo, and of course fourth edition is, what game would you what game do people consider it, Tom?
I don't know. There's a lot of choices we could do here.
Yes, but you haven't read any of them. You don't know the game of choice that they refer to. I'll give you a hint. It's the one you played a board game of.
I know. But just saying the words of it almost seems to cheapen it a little bit.
The
you know, I will let our guest here answer that question.
Yes.
I've heard that it's kind of like EverQuest. The common complaint is that it's basically the tabletop version of World of Warcraft.
Which I have played.
Which
thank you very much. It's not
the board game.
Yeah, I think that argument's complete bullshit.
Yeah,
it's nothing like. I mean, you could play it that way, I guess.
Yeah,
you could just sit down and be like,
kill
okay,
for 6 hours.
We're gonna take 5 dudes and we're gonna go beat up a dragon.
Yeah,
and it's gonna be like World of Warcraft. Well, sure. I mean, I guess so.
Well, what's interesting is, like, let's take their argument, just agree with it for the sake of argument. Okay, it is like a video game. I mean, where do you think video games all got their rules and ideas from? I mean, and their terminology, everything from. They got them from, role-playing games, tabletop role-playing games. I mean, you could do a whole book on just how role-playing games influence video games, influence role-playing games, influence video games, and so on. And I mean, it's like a feedback loop. And,
my favorite example of that is EverQuest.
Yeah.
Which EverQuest is loosely based on old school D&D.
Yeah.
And then they came out with the EverQuest role-playing game.
Yeah, they
for
did.
3.5. It's like, and it reminds me a lot of Street Fighter, the movie, the game. Like, it's like, wow.
Wasn't that with the storyteller system, the old White Wolf game?
Yeah, it was.
Is it? That's hilarious.
I have the books.
Yeah. You actually have them. Wow.
I have all of them.
Wow.
That's
I actually bought them for $3 a piece.
Which shows you how great they were.
Well, they're played with cards, but it's pretty much the White
No,
Wolf
the RPG, it wasn't played with cards. There was an actual RPG.
Yeah, no. The RPG had cards.
Really? Wow.
They were optional.
Oh, I see. So, I mean, but how is that a bad critic? I mean, what I'm getting is, like, why that's a bad thing, even if it is influenced by a video game. Like,
well, I think that it's a little bit of role player snobbery. Like, tabletop games are so much more creative and involved, and there's a lot more give and take there, whereas a video game, is, at least before you get into, like, massive multiplayer online games and things like that, it's pretty much someone sits down and writes a story, and you go through it. Now, there's plenty of argument over sandbox-type games and all this, but really what happened is someone wrote a story, and you get to experience that story in a video game. I don't think that there's anything wrong with a role-playing game mechanically taking a lot of inspiration from video games, especially if it does it well and it's fun, which I'm not 100% of a 4E fan. I think that 4E does some things well and does some things not so well. But I will say that the comparison that people keep making where it's basically World of Warcraft, which is the combat system, I think 4E's combat system is fantastic.
Yeah, no,
it's fast paced. It's every class and even two characters of the same class can be completely different and function in different ways. Everybody gets the job done, and there's no class that you have to have.
That's true. That's like,
and I think that that's a great way to design a tabletop role playing games combat system. It lets everyone feel different and unique while still being cool. Mm-hmm. And nothing's required. Like it's not like in 3.5 where you sit down and it's like, all right, who's going to be the cleric?
Exactly.
Because if we don't have a cleric, we can't do anything.
Well, technically, you get by with a lot of wands of cure light wounds, but that and a bard.
I mean, that's not really like you can, but let's be honest, it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
But I really like that about 4E. Now, 4E has other problems, and most of my problems with it have nothing to do with the game itself, and have more to do with how they've built up the supplements and how they're kind of pushing the game forward. Mm-hmm. Like, I think the base 3 books are really good.
Yeah.
And I think that even the first round of supplements, like Martial Power, Divine Power, Arcane Power, I think those are really good. Where the game kind of starts to lose a lot of its luster for me is in, like, the PHP 2, Martial Power 2, things like that, because I feel like a lot of the game is losing its identity. Mm. Like, there's so many different defenders now that me being, say, a fighter, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my main complaint about it, which, like, I don't think 4E is a bad game. It's just there's problems with it. There's things about it that I don't like. but it's certainly playable.
And that's a good point, because one thing with all these powers, and they're all core, and unlike 3.5, you could limit certain things, like we're only using the core 3 or whatever. And now technically with the character gen program DDI is really cool. I really like it. It's fucking essential if you're making a character over level 1, as far as I'm concerned. But it's really, really annoying that players like, oh, I want to play a barbarian with blah blah blah, and I like, okay, I don't know what a barbarian does because I haven't bought PHP 2 and I haven't bought PHP 3, which PHP it's not out yet, but it's coming out soon, right?
Coming out soon.
And it's monks and
Game Boy this year, I think.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But I would actually say, that's pretty much the there's some things I like and some things I don't is going to be true with every last game system you ever play.
Yeah.
There's going to be things you like and things you don't. Now, column A may have a little more than column B in certain games. Like Palladium certainly has a lot more in the don't like column, but there are still things I like about it.
Yeah.
As much as I do rail against that one, I am guilty of it.
Yeah.
I don't go on the internet and bitch about it though, but
right.
I do it here.
and really with Palladium, in Palladium's case, it's the fact that they won't update the rules. If they updated the rules, I'd be playing Palladium. It's simple as that, because Rifts is such a, kitchen sink of adolescent power fantasies. You have a little bit of everything.
Which we still greatly have within us.
Yeah, it's like, I want to be a ninja. I want to be a hobo. I want to be a cyborg ninja hobo.
No, we're not. But then there's Cinnabar. And
yeah, I want to be a hobo who can eyeball a fella. That's an actual class power for the Vagabond. Eyeball a fella. I'm not kidding. This is not a joke. This is actually in Rift's Ultimate Edition. That's how the Vagabond got the eye.
Yeah, the group where you could have a hobo.
And they're the only class that can do that.
Where you could have a hobo and a dragon.
Yeah. Walk into a bar.
Literally.
So yeah, you can mention that there are, no system is perfect. That's true, especially in RPGs, because you have all these narrative choices and everything. And I think I want to get back on the snobbery thing, and I think that's a lot of it too, because there's always people. I think you've probably all seen the geek hierarchy, where published sci-fi authors think themselves higher than academics think them. It's like starts out with sci-fi authors and ends up with furry fan fiction writers who write self-insertion Star Trek fan fiction where Kirk is like an ocelot or something, and
they're in self-inserted characters in Mary Sue,
and everyone imagines themselves above at least somebody else. There's always got to be, and the ocelot fanfic writing guy is going to be like, oh, I'm better than the guy who writes the same sort of stories, only they eat each other, and
or it's like, or Kirk was a mouse. Hello.
Yeah, exactly. And
furries.
Oh, we have a good time here.
We do.
So you it's okay to talk about game balance, and there's certainly valid complaints with like fourth ed. I think those are really good points on like the sort of power creep, but that's inevitable with any edition. Like if you look at the 3.5 character optimization boards, at least before Wizards purged them, they were Pun the Divine Kobold Smasher of Worlds, and among other builds, and people who 3.5, obviously casters were better than non-casters. That a fighter pretty much sucked ass compared to a wizard.
Well, come on,
or a druid.
Well, dude, it's Angel Summoner and BMX Bandit.
Yes, are you familiar with that, Mike?
I am not.
Okay.
Proceed.
No. We'll see. One cannot be told what that is.
No. Well, for those of you who haven't seen the YouTube
very
video,
well, fine.
It's from a British comedy show, Mitchell and Webb.
Well, that Mitchell and Webb look.
That's
the name of the show.
Whatever. And it's they fight crime. One of them is a BMX guy on a BMX bike, and he's very good at BMXing. But the other guy can summon angels, invincible angels that can do anything. And so it's like, all right, BMX Bandit, the girl's kid being held hostage there.
Well, it's first one's like BMX Bandit. It's like, okay, they're holding the hostage in there. I recommend I jump through the window on my BMX, do a spinning back wheelie, and knock them out. And then you come in and save the girl. And then Angel Summoners. Yes, or we could just summon a horde of angels.
And there's several of them. I'll show you the link after we're done with the show. But the basic point is there. Fighters are BMX bandits. They can fight. They can do stuff.
They're very good. They're very good with their swords.
Yeah, but that's compared to a wizard who can summon monsters to fight for him. Fly, turn invisible, throw fireballs. Or a cleric who can do all that kind of stuff and more, and heal
or
themselves
a druid
and wear armor.
Or God help you, a druid.
A druid who gets an animal companion, shapeshift in wild shape, and cast spells. They kind of little power deficit there. So minor thing. So, these are some of the major arguments that, sort of irritate me. And then, of course, the one that I get is the conspiracy theory. The, game company X is screwing us again. Whether it's Wizards of the Coast or...
Palladium Games.
Yeah, Palladium. Well... people just feel sorry for Palladium these days.
Well, yeah, it's the redheaded stepchild.
Yeah, they're kind of... I almost feel sorry for him if Kevin Symbieta wasn't so batshit insane. I mean, am I wrong, Mike, or are you...
I'm not familiar with Palladium.
Or have you seen the interview with Bill Coffin?
Yeah, he was a writer. That's too long to get into, but he was a writer for Palladium. Got into Kevin Symbieta's little quirks. Apparently, he doesn't even lay out books with computers. He still does it manually. Exactly.
Godspeed, sir.
And I think obviously the big companies are the worst. White Wolf is screwing us, and then Wizards of the Coast is screwing us because they're doing this. They're dropping this title, or they're doing this, and they're changing things. And how can they do this to me?
To you. That's how
exactly.
it's all it is to me.
One thing, their companies are trying to make a profit, and to Wizards. I mean, Wizards does have some stuff you can lay their blame at. I mean, like the GSL, the fourth ed GSL sucks. I mean, compared to the Open Gaming License. I mean, that's a legitimate thing you can talk about. But I mean, you're not going to change their minds. I mean, no fan petition I think has ever affected them in the RPG industry.
We'll take it under advisement.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. In terms of people criticizing companies, I mean, are there what's legitimate and what's not legitimate in terms of like criticizing companies?
I really don't think that there is much that's legitimate. I mean, you have to remember that these are corporations. I mean, they're for-profit companies.
Yeah.
If you disagree with something that they're doing, don't buy the book.
Yeah.
And if enough people disagree with you and don't buy the book, they'll stop doing it because it's not making them money.
Yeah.
Bottom line's the bottom line.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, to them, it may be distasteful for gamers to admit this, even to themselves, but Wizards doesn't care if you don't like it. They only care if you buy it.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, don't buy it.
Yeah.
And I will say this for Wizards. They put up previews of all of their books that before they come out. You can go to their website and you can look at previews, and they'll have straight PDF pages of their book on the site that you can look at. And if you don't like what they're doing, don't buy it.
Yeah.
That's the best way to show a company that you don't like what they're doing with something. Fan petitions are not going to solve this.
Yeah.
Posting on the message boards is not going to solve this.
That's true.
Screwing profits, that will.
That will solve the problem if you can screw the profits hard enough.
Right. And, I mean, it's not just Wizards. Now that I think about Pazio, I remember right before Pathfinder came out, they had the developers posting on RPG.net and, here's previews of this. And then people got into game balance issues of them. I remember there's one infamous thread in particular, like, here's our iconic fighter. He's a level 14 guy, and he has a will save of +3. And a level 14 fighter with a will save of +3. And somebody did a comparison of him trying to fight a Ice Devil, which is like a CR9 demon, with a fear, aura of like DC 19 or something like that. So basically the fighter tries to charge the Ice Devil and he runs away in panic, pissing his pants, even though it's a CR9 monster that could, presumably he could solo, but no.
Like a cat versus a commoner.
Yeah, well, that's every edition of D&D. And
that's just fun.
Yeah, exactly. Cats should be able to kill commoners in D&D. That's just as...
And if a frog was big enough.
Yeah. And people were
Enough
talking.
frogs can do it.
There's
frog swarm.
Frog swarm. Nice.
That keeps
That could wipe out a village.
That could.
That keeps Ross up at night.
Oh my god.
Frog swarms.
Thinking of that.
Well, if frogs were big enough to eat people, we'd be extinct. I mean, or we'd be all, we'd be living in like tundra. That would be the only place we could live because they would just fucking eat us all.
Are you afraid of frogs? Like, do you have
giant frog? Yeah,
frogophobia of some sort?
I have a frog there, and I've seen him eat crickets, and it's just like he's there here, and he eats the fucking cricket instantly, and you're like, holy shit! I'm glad you're not big enough to eat humans, because we wouldn't see it coming. You'd just be hanging on top of a tree, and we'd be walking by. I'm like, oh, now we're dead. So
I see.
Yeah, because they don't give a fuck. They're cold blooded.
That is true.
They're very cold blooded.
Would you call them cold blooded killers?
Exactly. So people criticize Pazio for rushing the beta test because people gave him all this feedback on the beta test of Pathfinder, and what it looked like is Pazio were just looking for people like, oh, this is great, I love it, and they weren't accepting like actual playtesting feedback, and so a lot of people criticize Pazio for that. But again, it's their book, and people lined up like crazy at Gen Con last year for Pathfinder, and so you either buy it if you don't like the rules, or don't buy it if you don't like the rules. Like I haven't bought it. I know Tom has because
I've heard good things about Pathfinder. I haven't actually looked through it, but
I've played one session of it. It's 3.5. There are changes to it, but
from what I bought both the book and I do.
Yeah.
Okay. Turn around.
Yeah, we should switch the mics.
I would actually say I have checked it out, and I'm going to start running it on Saturday for my other group. I kind of like what I've seen so far.
Well, I mean,
I have admitted I'm a little bit more partial to 3.5 than I am 4th, though I still think 4th is great.
Well, why do you like 3.5 better? Is it just you're more familiar with it, or
I'm more familiar with it, and the real thing is the druid has always. I've had a personal interest and liking of druids.
You like the 3.5?
The 3.5 druids, and it's the emotional attachment I have to it. Well,
Okay.
or it's more like
fine.
that's my personal thing, as you've said. That's what I love, and this one I had to wait till Player's Handbook 2 came out to get druids, and I don't like the druids in it.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. I think one of the things about the 4th Ed class you can criticize is that they're all, basically they're entirely focused on their combat abilities, in the sense like you don't have stuff like pass without trace and unlimited wild shaping, which I know is like your thing with the druids.
Well, in 3.5 they got rid of that.
You mean in Pathfinder?
No, actually in 3.5.
No,
the unlimited shape-shifting.
Well, there was this... Really?
Yeah, okay. Yes. In 3.0, there was a druid class in Master of the Wild called Shifter, which at 10th level, you change to a shapeshifter, and you could shapeshift an unlimited number of times a day and pretty much become anything.
Yeah.
If you had enough hit dice.
Yeah.
The remade version was the Master of Many Forms, which gives you the ability to become a lot more things, but not everything, and you could still only do it a limited number of times a day.
I see.
Yes, I meant when I saw Shifter, I'm like, I will only play that class from now on.
Okay.
Because the thing is, we were playing at level 12 characters in a game, and by 12 hit dice, I could become a 12-headed Hydra.
Yeah.
I got 12 attacks per round. I killed everything.
Yeah.
sounds balanced.
Oh, yeah. Totally balanced.
Yeah, that was one of the things. It was 3.5 is that there's so. I mean, that's one thing I do miss about earlier editions of D&D, 3rd Ed and earlier, where really creative people could use really creative uses for spells, like totally stuff that no one who wrote the spell ever thought of. Physics tricks with various walls and spells, or disintegrating floors to destroy, to have your enemies like, oh, a golem, he's immune to magic. Well, I'll disintegrate the floor under him. Ha ha ha. We don't have to fight him anymore. And 12-headed hydras. Breaking the systems like that. There is a certain joy.
It's an art
in breaking that. That's and rituals in 4th Ed. I just they I don't know. They're okay.
Once again,
but
I have problems. There are problems with 3.5 that I like. There's things I like and things I don't like.
Yeah.
True of everything I've played.
But I don't know. And again, my favorite version, like I honestly think Iron Heroes is better than 4th Ed in terms of combat. Have you played Iron Heroes?
No.
Have you played? No, neither of you.
No.
Oh,
Iron
man.
Heroes sounds familiar.
Mike Marrows. That's what he did before 4th Ed.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
where
Mike Marrows.
all the classes are like there's no magic using base classes. There's an optional class for using magic, but like it has a lot of stuff that will eventually came into 4th Ed. But it was more organic.
Conan.
Yeah, it was all swords and sorceries, but there was like an archer class, an assassin class, a berserker class, and they all had like a lot of their abilities charged up during battle. So you didn't have so many uses per day, but like you made certain attacks and you gained rage tokens when you got hit if you're a berserker, and then you could expend the tokens to do certain effects, kind of like a warlock does with certain auras. But it was more prevalent, and it was very cinematic. and just a really badass system, and also like the reserve hit points, which are like surges.
Make use of the chandeliers in the room. And
and using the environment as part of the battlefield. It's really, really fun. And one thing is the main book is there's a shit ton of rata for it. I mean, it's like totally, and there's some classes like the Armiger, the heavy armored dude class is underpowered, and the magic rules totally suck. But the magic rules are like, all the characters should be normal, badasses. No, there shouldn't be any magic using PCs as far as I'm concerned. And that's my favorite D20 type anything, even better than 4th Ed. But I mean, it's a very limited appeal thing because you're only playing sword and sorcery type stuff. So yeah. Anyways, the last thing I was thinking of was the it's not Game X, or it's it's not my game. I see this a lot, especially with 4th Ed. They're like 4th Ed D&D isn't D&D, despite it being about killing monsters and taking their shit. It's not really D&D.
Right. I think that again goes back to gaming being such a personal hobby. It's not D&D because it can't do the thing that I did in my my favorite D&D campaign ever. Well, probably D&D didn't really do what your D&D campaign did. It was your GM that did what your D&D campaign did. And that's always struck me as a really kind of empty, pointless argument.
Yeah.
Like, and I heard the same thing about one of the new. I don't know how into cartoons you guys are these days, but there's a new cartoon, or there was a new cartoon. I think it already actually got canceled. Called Batman: The Brave and the Bold.
Oh, I've heard of that.
It's very kind of over the top.
Yeah,
it's very
I saw a clip
Silver
on
Age.
YouTube of like the Songmeister. It's like some dude. The whole episode was a musical, which I thought was great.
Yeah,
because you could do a 3.5 bard like that with like if you max out diplomacy and bluff and just mind control people into dancing for you.
The guy from the Drew Carey show does Batman's voice.
Yeah, he also did
the guy in Office Space. It was like
yeah,
2 chicks at once.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I heard a handful of people were telling me that like that's not Batman, and I'm like, yes, it is. Yeah. I mean, you may not. It may not be the Batman that you like.
It's not the Frank Miller Batman.
Or Batman the animated series.
But you know what else was Batman? Adam West Batman.
Yeah.
Adam West Batman was awesome.
And Robin.
For that kind of Batman that it was.
That's more that's the Batman for more people than probably
exactly
the Frank Miller Batman.
Yeah, and I think that the it's not D&D or it's not vampire or whatever else you want to call whatever insult you want to levy on the new edition of the old game that you like. I think it's the same thing. I mean, yes, it is. It's just not the one that you prefer. It's still D&D. It's just not the D&D that you are used to.
I see this a lot, not just in D&D, but obviously the World of Darkness too. Were you a big fan of either version of the World of Darkness?
I've played both.
Yeah.
I played Old World of Darkness Vampire, which is really the only one that I played.
Yeah.
And then I've played several of the new World of Darkness games.
Yeah. Any stake in those? I know. I'm sure you've seen some of those wars. And then like, oh, the new World of Darkness sucks. It's awful and blah blah blah. Yeah.
I will say the Old World of Darkness system is terrible. Like, it's abysmal. The new World of Darkness system is 100 times better.
Yeah.
In terms of just being fun to play and fun to roll dice. I have no stake in one setting over the other.
I mean, and again, if you, a lot of it's kind of like I remember I've read, there's this comic. It's right. Oh. The greatest movies are the ones you saw when you were 12. Like 12 year if you were growing up when Ghostbuster came out, that's actually a sublime, perfect comedy. But if you grew up when Pirates of the Caribbean came out, then that's the greatest comedy, subversive underground comedy ever made, or something like that. And the greatest movies or the music you start listening to when you're in your 20s, that's the greatest music of all time, and that's going to be better than all the crap that's come out since.
For the record, mine was Airplane.
Yeah, or Airplane. And that's objectively better than anything that's come out since.
But I will actually say, as far as World of Darkness goes, I haven't played enough of the new system.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I am not educated enough to make an opinion on that yet.
Right. Well, what about the setting? Have you heard anything about the new setting?
The setting, from what I've heard,
I know you just picked up Changeling. So.
Yeah, I just picked up Changeling, and I really love Changeling the Lost. Haven't played it, but the concept is really awesome. That's actually a lot better than Changeling the Dreaming, I believe is what it was.
Yeah,
that's much better.
Yeah, were you familiar with Changeling the Dreaming? I'm actually not.
My friend Sean, he was a big fan of it, but that's where you're actually playing, fairies.
Yeah,
I like this one a lot better.
Yeah,
because it's actually I I don't know, more dark. World of Darkness.
God, I want more grimdark in my darkness.
And let's be honest,
You got
by
grimness in my
third
darkness.
edition World of Darkness, that was superheroes with supernatural powers.
Yeah.
Basically, that's all that was, especially vampire.
I don't think can anyone honestly argue against that? I mean that.
No,
old
I
World
don't.
Dark-
But let's be
Well,
honest.
I'm sure there will be some fanboys. No, my fifth generation Diablo-ized Brewhog with Celerity 8 and
It's when I've heard people from first edition where
I punched Dracula to the moon, but it's still an angst-ridden game about my soul.
it's the first edition. You're actually monsters.
Yeah.
They try to emphasize that, which is why they updated it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh well, this isn't working very much.
That's true. So, I think my whole point. I think Mike had the greatest point. Talking about how if you hear somebody talking shit about your favorite game, that you need to step back and realize, one, it's on the internet. It doesn't matter. No argument.
People are entitled to their opinions.
Well, and two, they're not attacking you emotionally. They're not trying. I mean, hopefully,
unless they put your name right there.
Yeah. It's like you are a bad person. Your game is bad, and you should feel bad. Unless you're
Satan shall claim you when you die.
Unless you're playing Fatal. Unless you honestly, emotionally love Fatal. I mean, if you honestly love Fatal, then you really are a fucking bad person.
And we're done with you.
Yeah, no, seriously, get therapy. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, there are rules for anal circumference. What the hell's wrong with you? Are you familiar with Fatal?
Or nipple hue.
Oh my God. Fatal is a fantasy adult trips and lechery or something like that. It's an 800-page PDF, and it's like the worst D&D clone you will ever hear of.
Book of Erotic Fantasy has nothing on this.
It's like every basement dwelling nerd. It's every stereotype you can imagine. It's too complex. It's too full of sexual assault, and it's just very bad. I mean, it's just awful.
Like sudden lechery powers.
Oh God. And people on the Something Awful forums actually did a play-by-post of it, where like spell failures would result you in farting at 125 decibels and shit like that. And
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's basically the worst game in the history of RPGs, which is saying something.
He has World of Cinnabar.
Cinnabar is pretty bad. Actually, somebody had me autograph their copy of
Yeah,
Cinnabar.
both of us.
Yeah, an RPPR fan was there, and Cinnabar is pretty bad too. I'll show you my copy when we're done. It's pretty bad. It's pretty fucking bad. Any final thoughts on why you shouldn't hate the games, or you shouldn't, don't hate the game?
Everyone's right and everyone's wrong, so shut up.
Yeah,
Pretty
there
much.
we go. Mike, any final thoughts? Okay, nothing.
I agree. Pretty much everyone's right and everyone's wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't like that game, well, somebody probably doesn't like your game, and
Yeah.
shut up.
Stupid.
Just focus on
Your mom's
Be a
face.
positive person. All right. Well, we'll be back. Tom will have his little letter, and finally one. And
Ross, I'd just like to tell you, no one likes it when someone uses the word little
Yeah.
to describe something,
Oh, all right.
especially males.
Little sensitive there. All right, Tom. A little trying to.
A little passive aggressive, yeah.
All right. We'll have shout outs, anecdotes, and more.
Let's be honest. As D&D players, we love killing things. No matter what fantastic settings, wondrous visual vistas, compelling story, and interesting role-playing, nothing can compare to slaughtering enough people to populate Madagascar. In fact, did you ever think of that? Without blood-filled bitch races to wade through like a wading pool filled with chum, would we ever really play D&D? I submit to you that we would not. With that in mind, I would like to give thanks to the most killed being in all of D&D, the Orc. Yes, the Orc. We have long been acquainted with you. From the mist-shrouded days of 1st edition to the Angel, Summoner, and BMX Bandit era of 3rd edition, millions of low-level characters have gleefully cut you down for little reason other than money and XP. And yet you took it all. You watched generation after generation of your people smeared on the business end of a greatsword, wielded by some bespectacled nerd with Asperger's syndrome, and you never changed. You remained the same stupid axe-wielding grunts we came to love. I am very pleased that orcs have found fame and acceptance lately. Much like zombies, recent developments have made orcs popular. Starting with Warhammer, then Warcraft, and now World of Warcraft, orcs are in the mainstream, even as intelligent warriors. not autistic axe murderers. However, I will always remember them as I first encountered them, a green representation of every jock I ever hated in junior high, getting disemboweled by my +3 sword of childhood catharsis. So enjoy your newfound fame, but know that I will always have visions of entrails and weeping orc children every time I hear mention of you.
Anyway, so Catalyst Game Labs. We just heard about that. Apparently, someone embezzled $850,000 from Catalyst Game Labs, and so they're kind of fucked right now, financially speaking. And so we might not see any Shadowrun books or Eclipse Phase or.
I did a game with one of the guys from that company.
Yeah, you didn't tell me, so I couldn't interview him for the podcast. So thanks.
I wasn't thinking about it, Ross.
No, you weren't. Because you're just a selfish human being. That's what I'm saying. You're just.
Refer to my previous comment of suck my ass. Okay.
Anyways, so yeah, that sucks. I can't believe, for one thing, I'm actually surprised that $850,000 from a tabletop RPG company. Well, I mean, and that's how much they stole. That wasn't even all of their revenue. So they made more than that. So in that sense, good job.
That's almost $1 million.
They must have made over $1 million because that was only how much was stolen, and they survived. And it took them a while to notice that much was gone. So
this has repercussions.
So way to go, Catalyst Game Labs, for making a lot of money, I guess. But it sucks that you chose such an untrustworthy scumbag to watch your books.
Our next ransom will be to hire an assassin.
No, it's their problem. They can deal with it themselves.
Well,
they make Shadowrun. They can hire Shadowrunners who will.
Edgewalker. Where is it?
What Catalyst Game Labs? I don't know.
Or the Street Ronin.
Yeah, Street Samurai.
Street Samurai. Yeah.
I don't know, Mike. Are you a fan of any Catalyst Game Labs, or are you going to be missing them?
I'm only passingly familiar with Eclipse Phase. Paul, who's also on Bear Swarm, is a huge Eclipse Phase fan. He really likes it.
Has he actually gotten to play it?
I don't think so. I know he owns it, and he really wants to run it and play it.
Well, let him know, because I'd like to get in touch with him about it, because I'm also a huge fan of Eclipse Phase, and I have not had a chance to run or play it.
But I do hate Shadowrun.
Really?
I hate Shadowrun.
You hate it? Wow.
Yeah, I'm not a fan
of Shadowrun. And we just talked about don't hate the game.
At all.
We just did the whole episode about not hating games.
I'm a hypocrite.
I know. Why
do you hate Shadowrun? Listen to my show, you'd know that.
I know. Well, we're all hypocrites.
Yeah. I don't listen to podcasts, but I podcast.
So tell us, why do you hate Shadowrun?
I have a thing against what I call genre mixing.
Yeah.
I don't like fantasy cyberpunk. I like fantasy or cyberpunk.
Okay.
I don't like orcs with chain guns. I don't like
so you don't like Warhammer 40,000 either?
Not really a huge fan of Warhammer 40K either.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, it's nothing against Shadowrun specifically. Okay. It's just I don't like Shadowrun because
when you said hate, I thought this was Shadowrun shot my dog. I mean, this was something personal.
No. I've tried to play it a few
times. I broke up with my girlfriend because of Shadowrun.
That did happen.
Really?
No, not at all. No, it's nothing against Shadowrun specifically, but it's just Shadowrun is one of this kind of cross-genre type of game that I don't really like. Mm-hmm. Like Warhammer 40K is in there. Shadowrun.
Rifts.
Probably Rifts.
Yeah.
I've never actually played Rifts, but
You're not missing a whole lot.
I've heard enough about Rifts, and I'm like, I probably wouldn't like that game. No, it's probably not for me.
Yeah.
I love the setting.
Yeah. But, for me, Shadowrun is I've actually played it. And I've had not very good experiences with it. And I'm still a fan of it. The last game I ran...
Maybe you're just a glutton for punishments.
I am. I play Palladium games too, so... And I own a copy of The World of Cinnabar, so obviously something's wrong with it.
I started on Palladium.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate.
My last Shadowrun story is actually a funny story. A friend of mine from high school, Jared, who Tom knows, invited me to play Shadowrun, and I was like, all right. And so we would go to this person's apartment. I don't know the people. It's not the porn wallpaper apartment. Okay. That was D&D. That was a D&D.
That sounds uncomfortable.
No, oh my god, it was really uncomfortable. That place was wallpapered in porn pinups and wrestling posters. And everyone in there changed. Yeah. You're telling me. It's a Freudian nightmare in there, man. And we're playing D&D. Oh my god. Anyway, this place was another hole in the wall type apartment, but it was pretty generic. Typical gamer mess, clothes on the floor, blah 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 blah. So, anyways, we're playing Shadowrun. I make a troll physical adept, which is basically a troll psychic ninja, martial artist type. A big heavy hitter. Mm-hmm. And so we go in this Shadowrun, and they meet up with me, but Jared's running the game, and he's not like, okay, these people and you trust them. He's just like, oh, you're a stranger, and you show up, and they're on this run, the mission, and so they assume you're hostile. So we get into this confrontation, and it's basically PC on PC violence, and they're not able to kill me, but I'm obviously outgunned, and I'm a martial artist, and they have guns, so I can't exactly run up and beat them to death. Mm-hmm. And basically, at the end of it, I'm nearly dead. Like, there's grenades thrown, walls fall on me, walls fall on them. There's like a lot of injuries to go around. And I wind up, I declare a moral victory because I basically, in Shadowrun, there's this thing called Doc Wagon, which is like insurance, private insurance, but it comes with armored ambulances, SWAT teams.
Cyberpunk's trauma team.
Yeah, I'm familiar. I'm familiar with Cyberpunk 2020.
Okay, definitely. So it's the same thing. I have a Doc Wagon thing, and so I'm critically injured. So Doc Wagon shows up and saves my ass. So I declared a moral victory because they couldn't kill me. Although like the other two players were experienced, had more guns and magic and shit, and they couldn't kill me. So I win.
I see.
And I'm sure they killed me off as an NPC later on in the campaign, but I never played it again. And Jared was a stoner. I think he was high running the game, so I don't think he was just laughing the whole thing off. But it was the only time. That was the last time I played Shadowrun. And
that sounds fantastic.
Yeah,
not at all.
And the few, I mean, it was one of those games I played like in high school and junior high, and so it was all
dark ages.
Yeah. I don't know about you. Like, actually, did you have really good gaming in high school or in junior high, or is it
not really? My really good gaming started off in like when I first got to college.
Yeah, exactly.
My high school gaming was not so good.
Exactly. I think that's for the common experience.
Universal.
Yeah, near universal. I'm sure there's always going to be somebody that's like, no, my gaming was great in high school. It sucked ever since, but I still stick with a hobby or something. But yeah, I will be sad that Shadowrun isn't going to be around anymore. Well, actually, Shadowrun is probably going to go to a different company. I mean, they'll license it out. I think Catalyst is just licensing it from someone like FAFSA or someone. FASA. So Shadowrun will see a home somewhere else. But I hope they can keep making Eclipse Phase, because that's a very cool game. And they do Cthulhu Tech, which is another genre mixing thing.
Yeah, not a fan.
I'm kind of curious about Cthulhu Tech, and of course they're coming out with a steampunk game called Leviathan about giant flying ships blowing each other up.
Interesting.
It looks very cool. So
so hopefully their company doesn't fold, basically.
Yeah, I'm hoping so, because I mean, it's such. I mean, embezzlements. First at Palladium, same thing happened to them. Someone embezzled like a quarter. $700,000 from them or something like that, and they nearly folded. But they held this, oh, fans, please support us, buy overpriced merchandise, support, and they actually pulled it off, and they're still making books. But well, they are putting out new content. I mean, it's Palladium content, so it's not like great.
Yeah, not a lot of it.
Yeah, but they're still doing it. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up about Catalyst, because that's we hope you make it through Catalyst. We do. Because I wanted to freelance for you sooner or later.
We are the world.
Although probably not now, because I'm not. They're not going to be able to pay anyone for a while. So anyways, let's go on to shout-outs. First off is a movie, Triangle. It's a British movie directed by Christopher Smith. He directed Creep and Severance. Creep is a 2004 horror movie, takes place in a subway. Woman stalked by weird monster thing. Severance is a horror comedy about office workers who go in.
We watched that at the Moxie, didn't we?
Yeah, it's a great movie. But anyways, this new movie Triangle was actually recommended to me by Scott Glancy of Pagan Publishing, but it's one. I don't want to really say anything about it because it's one of those movies that's a real mindfuck. But it's better if you don't know anything about it going into it. Just grab it. It's on Netflix. If you have Netflix, you can just instant stream it or rent it on there. And it's it's only 90 minutes or so it's worth watching. It's really, really creepy and good. It's a good thriller. So anyways, Tom, you had one.
Yeah, one is actually, both of mine are actually games I played at Fear of the Con. Right. My first is Pooh, the card game.
Which is from Catalyst Games?
Catalyst Games, yeah.
I know.
And I played it with one of the guys from the company.
Yeah.
It was actually one of those, you were running a game. The first night, I had nothing to do until 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of the time just wandering around.
Yeah.
I was in the there was the dealer room and there was the room right next to it.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting down, kind of thumbing through my own books, working on shit. And there was 3 people at another table, and one's like, "Hey, we're trying to get. Hey, would you like to try this game?" I'm like, "Sure, okay." And then I saw it's basically a card game of your monkeys throwing crap at each other, and the goal is to cover your enemies in more crap than you have. And that is pretty much
that's a good goal.
That's how. Yeah, that's
if
how,
I was a monkey, that would be my goal.
Yeah, that's how it was sold to me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I'll try it, sure. And what was really weird is it was really freaking fun.
Okay.
First of all, the artwork on the cards are great.
Okay.
And just, it was one of those things, I found myself getting into it for some reason.
Yeah.
First of all, the people I was playing it with were really good, and
Yeah.
like really got the game.
Did you win?
No, actually, I didn't. Actually, I did not. But I had a card where as soon as I lost, everything that was on me went to an opponent of my choice.
Okay.
So I knocked out the other player too.
Oh, good. How dare you get crap?
Actually, I remember the name of the card was "Take Them With You," and the picture is a monkey in a Karate Kid getup.
Nice.
It was really fun.
All right. So very good. The next one is no. You do 2 years. Well, anyways, Imaginary Monsters is my next one. It's a webcomic about monsters in a D&D type dungeon, and there's a skull. There's Dennis the wizard, the skeletal wizard. There's Grizzle Dude, a skull kind of monster, and then there's Lightning Knight, and it's a very kind of chill, kind of very funny. There's not very many comics so far. There's only about 60 or 70 of them, but it's very entertaining. But well, you had one more board game though, right, Tom? Yeah.
All right. Well, fine. I'll go next.
Yeah.
Actually, and funnily enough, my next shout out is a game I played with the 2 people who were also playing Pooh the card game. Was Pandemic, a board game. You're basically CDC agents trying to stop a global outbreak of disease.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, they said that very rarely do you win the game because it's a cooperative game with you and all the other players.
I see.
And they are correct. You will rarely win that game. If you are playing that game and you actually beat it, mark that day on your calendar. It does not happen often.
That's like that's a game where you're trying to kill everybody on the planet with a disease.
No,
right?
you're trying to stop that from happening.
Oh,
it's one of those games.
I see. I played there's a web browser game, or there's a
Pandemic
Flash game.
and Pandemic 2. I played both of them.
Yeah, the Flash game is similar.
Yeah, but in this one, no. There's an outbreak of disease. You're trying to cure it.
Oh.
So you're running around.
Well, that's no fun.
Well, you're trying to save the world. Make the world a better place.
I'd rather be the disease.
I know.
I'd rather be pestilence, man.
That's actually that's tattooed on your back.
Yeah. Kind of I'd rather be the disease.
Yeah.
Kind of deep.
We are a disease. Humanity is a disease, right? We're getting.
And we are the cure.
Yeah. But Mike, you had a couple too. I know you saw a movie up at Fear the Con.
Yeah, I was hanging out with. I was actually staying up in St. Louis that weekend. I was staying with Matt, who is from the podcast.
Right.
And
Hi, podcast. How you doing for Role Playing Public Radio? Anyway.
You're probably doing pretty good.
Yeah.
But I noticed that he had a DVD of a movie that I had seen previews for maybe like 3 years ago. It's a Japanese movie called Kasern, but I'd never been able to find it and I'd never watched it. So I sat down and watched it, and it's interesting. It's I mean, and I don't mean that like when most people say it's interesting. I mean it's bad.
Yeah. It's bad, but I don't want to say it's
right.
bad.
It wasn't bad. It was. I don't think I really understood everything that was happening.
Yeah.
It was very Japanese.
Yeah.
But the parts that I understood were great, and the action scenes were really cool, and visually it's fantastic. It's more Final Fantasy than any Final Fantasy that I've seen in a really long time.
That's a good way of summing it up.
Like there's airships and stuff like that, and the main bad guy and the main good guy kind of have this almost pseudo brother, but we hate each other sort of relationship. It felt very Final Fantasy, almost to the point when I was like, "Where's my battle screen?
Yeah.
Come on, I need my
limit break."
And my two-frame victory dance.
Exactly.
Yeah, very good.
I miss those.
I've seen it too. It's been a while since I've seen it, and yeah, it's a very it's very much along those lines of like very philosophical kind of what does it mean, and I want to destroy everything, or I want to alter everything on Earth, and
what is Metal Gear?
Yeah,
and it's very like destroy the world to save the world.
Exactly.
Kind of feel to it, which I never got.
Yeah.
But whatever.
But yeah, Final Fantasy cutscenes, Metal Gear cutscenes, that kind of that school. But yeah, I think it was one of the first movies that's done almost entirely on blue screen. So it's that same really stylized CGI live action look. Sky Captain, but again with a Japanese anime manga sensibility. I know it's based on a manga series or a manga and an anime series. I can't imagine them not making a movie based. I mean, they wouldn't make it on something original. We would have to be based on some manga or something, probably. Well, Wikipedia.
Yeah. The movie's basically, a genetically engineered cybernetic ninja fighting a robot army.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
How could you go wrong with that? Exactly. And speaking of that, I actually have to recommend an anime one I saw recently, although it's a very old anime, MD Geist. It's like 1980, early 80s, ultra violent, super, super gory, pointless anime in a way, because it's about a genetically engineered super soldier, MD Geist, most dangerous Geist. I don't explain what Geist means, but he's the most dangerous one of them. And they think, oh, you're so dangerous, guys. We're going to put you in a prison in a satellite. Ha 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 ha. And then the satellite falls to orb, and he gets out and he's like, I must go fight things. And so he fights things. That's the plot of it, basically. First he fights a gang, and he takes over the gang. And the woman's like, oh, you're so hot. Oh, here are my boobies. And then like, no, I don't care for you, skank. I want to fight. And like, oh, let's fight. I'll go fight and help the losing army because they will pay us, or I have some weird grudge or something against them. And so he fights their enemies, and they're like, okay, we're going to go on the secret mission to save the world from an evil factory full of robots that is going to come to life and kill all the life on the planet. And he's like, yeah, okay, sure. And
well, is he an asshole about it? Like
he's a huge asshole.
Like Fist of the North Star.
Oh yeah, it's like, ugh, you are weak, I'm strong, and doesn't even answer people when they talk to him. He just looks at them, that arrogant anime look.
Trench coat and katana.
Well, he's like, leather jacket and more Mad Max style, but yeah, basically. So it winds up, he gets betrayed by the colonel, and then he kills the colonel, and then he's at the console, it's like, basically there's a screen saying, Project Destroy All Life on Earth is turn on or off? On. And the girl runs up to her, it's like, why did you do that? I want things to fight. And then he kills her, and then he goes off, and he sees, the last shot, it shows him watching all these robots rising out of this factory he's like, now I will have things to fight. Forever. They go off to destroy the world, and he's going off to fight them. And apparently there was a sequel, according to Wikipedia, but I can't imagine it being better than this one, because that's the ultimate, like, it's sort of like a player gaming. It's like what a player character would do in a game. It's like, I want to level up. Well, you need to fight things to level up, so I activate the robot factory so I can kill all the robots for the experience points. But they'll wipe out most of humanity. Whatever.
Collateral damage.
Yeah, I don't lose experience points for letting people die, right? No. Well,
like this game doesn't have a morality system.
So yeah,
wipe out humanity. Sounds like a lot of not my problem.
Exactly. So it's very early 80s anime. It's just so over the top you can't help but love him. He's just such a lovable little scamp. MD Geist. You had another. You Mike. You got to play a game at Fear the Con. You were talking about Iron Tyrants.
I did. I demoed Iron Tyrants, which is a tabletop skirmish game. It's being written by Luke, and I think David also contributed pretty significantly to the writing, both of podcast fame.
Yes.
But it's a tabletop skirmish game. It's kind of a streamlined, faster-paced, more action-y version of BattleTech. Like, there's way less bookkeeping. It's
that's good.
It's very fast-paced, kind of quick-fire. Me and Luke did a 4 versus 4 mech battle.
Yeah.
And it took maybe 45 minutes.
That's pretty good.
Game, which is about what he was saying, and it's pretty easy to learn. It's fast paced. By round 2, like, I really only had to ask for clarifications on certain things and stuff like that. No, it was pretty fun.
Cool.
I suppose the demo game, like, did you find out anything about the mech customization rules? Because I know mech games are very big on like.
There are no mech customization rules, which is one of the things that I was like, Luke, your game needs customization rules. Because I want to build my own mechs.
Yeah, bringing up Catalyst Game Labs, I know one of the big criticisms for Cthulhu Tech was that you couldn't customize the mechs very much. You could only change like what kind of weapon they were carrying. Right. That was it. And people with the mech games, they love to customize the fuck out of their mechs. I mean.
One of the things that he was saying is one of the reasons why he didn't build mech customization rules, why he didn't make mech building rules, is because he wanted really strong factions in the game. So each faction has their mechs, and each faction has abilities, and each faction has commanders that then give you other abilities to play. So it's not like you just pick your mechs and then go. It's you pick your mechs which belong to this faction, which are led by this guy, which all kind of changes how you play the game in minor ways. He was talking about maybe doing mech customization rules in an expansion someday and stuff like that, but out of the box, there aren't any.
I got you. No, do you know? Did he talk about anything about the ETA before it was going to be published, or?
He was saying that the book is about 70% written.
Right.
And they've already got the publisher and all that, and all the funding is lined up. So it's just waiting for him to finish the last 30% or so of the book, and then it'll go. I think he said within the next few months, but
cool. We'll look
don't quote me on that.
Okay. No, we'll quote you. It'll be on the front page. You'll be like,
I think he said within the next few months, but don't quote me on that.
Okay,
Mike.
Yeah. No, quoted, Mike. It'll be in bold, underlined, flashing.
Damn it.
But is this going to be like with actual miniatures coming out, or is it going to be like just a book? Is it going to be
it's a book that I think comes with some terrain, like some paper build up 3D terrain,
papercraft kind of stuff, like fold your own.
Yeah. And then the mechs are cardstock stand ups. Okay. And basically he was saying that if it sells enough and if they can generate enough revenue off of it, then they'll probably do a special edition with actual like miniature mechs, because it turns out that those are expensive to make.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I was asking about.
Basically, like I think first run is pretty much going to be cardstock, and depending on how well it sells, they might do a second run with actual mecha.
I mean, I've always been wanting to try like a mech game. Like I've seen that the BattleTech starter kit or box set, and I've just never it just seemed like a little too much. I know we played Tom and I played in a BattleTech campaign once, and I made the mistake of being a pilot. Like, oh, I'm gonna go on a bombing run.
No, dude, I was the pilot.
No, I was a bomber. I was a pilot too.
Yeah, I remember playing this with Matt's group.
Yeah.
And
I know. Well, I know. Like,
the thing. What I remember is because I was doing it making bombing runs, but what sucks is you make a bombing run, then it takes 5 turns to circle back around, so for 5 combat turns you're standing there with your thumb up your ass.
Well, and what sucked for me is that I remember doing that. I think you were a fighter, maybe I was a bomber, maybe the other way around. But I was definitely a plane too, because I remember. Oh, I roll. I miss. Okay.
5 turns later, you get to roll again.
Yeah, well, it wasn't 5 turns. It was like 2 turns. But
no, dude, it was more than that.
No, well, maybe for you, because you were bad player. But the same basic principle applied. It was if you're playing, I think the thing is, if you're playing a game called BattleTech or Mech Warrior or something about mechs, you should play a mech. You shouldn't play a plane or a tank or anything like that, because the rules aren't set to favor you. I think. In Dwarf Fortress, you want to be a dwarf. So anyway, and finally, last one is another webcomic called Sin Titulio. It's a mystery type of very David Lynchian kind of mystery where a guy starts having the same reoccurring dream of a desert of a beach with a strange tree in the background, and his life starts becoming altered, and it's only about 90 comic strips into it, so I haven't figured out much of what the plot is, but apparently there's like a shared dream world. People die, heads explode. It's very good, but yeah, you should check it out.
So is this anything like the YouTube video of the Goofy movie as envisioned by David Lynch?
A little bit, yeah. Or Videodrome, basically. It's YouTube video of remixing the trailer of the Goofy movie. Like, how would David Lynch direct the Goofy movie? It would be pretty fucking disturbing. But I think the Goofy movie is disturbing anyway. Not that I've seen it. Just the idea of it.
Busted.
Yeah.
He loves it.
Well, no. Because the Goofy movie, like Goofy as a kid, that implied Goofy had sex, and that's just like, come on, really, Disney? God damn it!
And dude, he's in a hot tub with Pete.
He is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's in the David Lynch video.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. That thing. I try and blurt it out.
It's
Anyways, we do have one gaming anecdote. This is from Jean-François from Ubisoft in Canada. And hi, I have another gaming anecdote about a game I almost played in. It was a few months ago at a demo game of the Fate 3 Aspect system game. It was a demo game offered by a friendly local gaming store, and I never played in the system. I was curious about it so I thought, why not? Day of the game, there are 5 people sitting at the table, including me. So we go through an overview of the rules and ask creator characters. Our setting is a sword and sorcery type world, low magic fantasy. I don't remember particularly. I decided to make an Errol Flynn-like archer rogue. So I choose my aspects to be things like charming rogue, agile, peerless archer, hide in the woods, stuff like that. When everybody is done, we must present our characters to the rest of the group. Guy next to me starts talking about his dark elf champion that fights with 2 broadswords. Drizzt clone right out of the bat. Let's see here. Next guy is a barbarian named Coldstone. Until he gets to his aspects, which are all based on some WWE wrestler catchphrases. The best there was ever be, because Coldstone said so. Open a can of whoop ass, etc. Ugh. So much for serious roleplay. And the next guy's character was okay. I don't really remember it. But the last guy was the worst character concept I ever saw. The half-giant retard. He had aspects like retard strong, never go full retard, and sex nut. That's when I faked getting a call on my cell phone and said it was an emergency, and I got the fuck out of there. That was the one and only time I signed up for anything at the friendly local game store, and I'm never going to sign up for anything ever again. So, I can see why he would do that, because I mean,
you never go full retard.
You never go full retard. Well, I mean, think about it though. If you're going to a game store playing with strangers, you don't be like, I'm playing a retard with sex nut. How you guys doing? I mean, really, wouldn't you want to leave at a store like, some random?
It's like a guy showing up wearing a robe.
Yeah, you don't want to just keep that belt on. I don't want to see anything. And
it's like, hello, welcome to the game.
Yeah, and which is the same because the Fate is apparently a very good system. It's based on aspects, which are kind of like Rhesus. You roll for an aspect. So like charming rogue, anytime you do anything remotely charming or roguish, you can roll for that. And it's supposed to be a very good system. So it's
but he'll never know.
Yeah, he'll never know because of full retard. Although I'm kind of curious if it turns out that was like the best game ever.
Dude, I have to give him credit. I don't know if I'd have the balls to do that, to just like, I'm getting a call, I gotta go.
You don't know many gamers. They don't understand social nuances. I mean,
no, I can't imagine
like Craig
doing
at Metagames. I mean, he is.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Oh, do you know Craig here, Mike? You know.
Oh yes.
Yes. I haven't seen. Is he still hanging around there? I haven't seen him.
I don't know. I haven't actually been to Meta in like maybe a month now.
Okay.
But I mean, go listen to Bear Swarm's D&D 4E release night special.
Yeah.
Because we spend like a half hour making fun of Craig.
Oh wow.
Because you can hear, like, we're recording at Meta before and you can hear Craig in the background.
It's not a Necron.
He's across the room.
Oh wow.
You can hear him.
Oh
and
my
it's
God.
it's pretty much us sitting there going like, God, we hate that guy.
Yeah.
That guy's a douchebag. That guy
He
sucks.
is. I mean, he just doesn't
He's
shut
so
up.
obnoxious.
Yeah, so I could see someone like Craig making, never go full retard and sex nut and on his character sheet.
No, he'd make the Drizzt clone.
Yeah, that's true.
He takes himself way too seriously.
Yeah, he wouldn't be that creative even. But I mean, there are people who have no problem in public doing really stupid shit like that.
We'll do we're just in the plane.
Yeah.
I wank off.
Oh God damn it. And with that, no. So, any final thoughts on this episode, Tom?
I will repeat my last one. Everyone's right and everyone's wrong.
Everyone's right and everything. So yeah, this is. We'll have Mike have the final word for this episode, I guess, since he's the guest here for the Bear Swarm.
Oh
2010.
man, now there's all kinds of pressure.
I know.
Final word.
Yeah.
It's a little trite. I'm gonna go with cocksucker instead. That's gonna be my final word. Arguing on the internet makes you a cocksucker.
Shit, this fuck,
All right, we'll see you next time. Cocksuckers.